Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Data Playbook. It's week 16, and we have our Sunday games to go through after a couple Saturday games and Thursday night. And there's no major updates to the tool, but I do expect to get to more over the next couple weeks. So if you want to see what updates come out, go ahead and give a subscribe so you can follow along. But other than that, let's get into our game data. Looking into our next matchup, you have the Jets going to New Orleans, where New Orleans is favored on the money line with a spread of 6.5 and a total line of 40.5. Here's their seasonal averages. And going through their rankings, you have a pretty bad offense from the Jets with a scoring rate of 27, a passing rate of 32, but a much better rushing rate at 6. Defensively, it's also a little mixed with an allowed scoring rate of 30, allowed passing rate of 9, and allowed rushing rate of 29. For New Orleans, you're on more of the worst side for offenses with a scoring rate of 30, a passing rate of 19, and a rushing rate of 27. Defensively, it's slightly better with an allowed scoring rate of 21, allowed passing rate of 4, and allowed rushing rate of 27. Next up for your quarterback, you have your third string, Brady Cook, on the Jets, and Tyler Show, with Cook averaging 5.7 fantasy points per game, and Show at 12.2. Here's their seasonal averages, even though that may not mean much for Cook. And for turnovers, you have Cook with 5 interceptions, and you have Show at 5 interceptions, with 1 fumble lost due to sacks, and 1 additional rushing fumble. To see the impact on the rushing game, obviously, you don't have very much for Cook this season, so he doesn't make it up here on the board. But with Tyler Show, he's at 10.6% of the rushing carry share and 11.1% of the rushing yard share. For your running backs, you have Breece Hall and Evan Hull because Kamara is listed as out. So Hall averages about 12.7 fantasy points per game, and Hull is about 1.6. There's all their seasonal averages, which again may not mean much for Hull. And the only turnovers come from Hall, with 2 rushing fumbles. And then looking at their share, you have Hall with 58.2% of the rushing carry share and 52.4% of the rushing yard share. The next largest portion actually comes from Justin Fields, but he's not in. So Hall's may continue to grow here. And then for Hull, he does not even get enough to get on the board again, so we don't see any of his numbers. For your receivers, you have John Mechie and Chris Olave. Mechie averaging 5.8 fantasy points per game, and Olave at 14.7. There are their seasonal averages, and with no turnovers from Mechie and 1 interception from Olave, we'll go to the charts now. So looking at their share now, you have Mechie with 9.5% of the target share and 8.5% of the receiving yard share. And as you can see with the Jets, it's probably the most broken up team with the most diversity in terms of targets. And it's a little different with New Orleans, with Chris Olave getting about 41.6% of the target share and 42.2% of the receiving yard share, which is the largest of anybody else. For your number 2 receivers, you have Adonai Mitchell and Mason Tipton. Mitchell averaging 5.8 fantasy points per game, and Tipton averaging about 1.7. Here are their seasonal averages, and looking at their turnovers, you have Mitchell with the only turnover, with 1 receiving fumble. And then for their share, you have Mitchell with 14.8% of the target share, and 15.9% of the receiving yard share. And once again, with Tipton, there's not even enough data for him to be up here, with less than 1% of the target share and less than 1% of the receiving yard share. And then finally, for your tight ends, you have Jeremy Ruckert, because you have Mason Taylor listed as out, and you have Juwan Johnson. Ruckert has averaged 3.5 fantasy points per game this season, and Johnson has averaged 10.2. Here are their seasonal averages, and with no turnovers from Ruckert and 1 receiving fumble from Johnson, we'll just move to the charts, where you have Ruckert with 6.1% of the target share and 6.6% of the receiving yard share, and Juwan Johnson at 27.1% of the target share and 30.3% of the receiving yard share. And that makes him the second most productive receiver in New Orleans. So that wraps it up for this game. I think head-to-head with the rankings, you get New Orleans turning out much better, especially with a team that's much more hurt on the Jets, with Garrett Wilson out and Tyrod Taylor, Justin Fields. So you have a pretty hurt team. Even Mason Taylor's out for this game. So I think you have a really hurt team. The best thing they have is their rushing rank against this allowed rushing rank of 27. So maybe if the Jets do a ton of rushing, they can win. But overall, I think New Orleans has a much better team. So I think that the numbers would lean in their direction. So there you are with that data. I hope you found it informational and useful. And if you did, leave a like and subscribe. And leave a comment on what else you'd want to see in the future. But other than that, thank you so much for watching. And I'll see you for the next game.